So this is Judgmentatnuremberg. Nuremberg. It's from 1961, so this was it. This has something to do with after World War II. This is the destruction of war, 1948.
I didn't know it was so bad. A couple of incendiaries, these old buildings go up like cellophane. You know, there's a wall that separates the old section of Nuremberg from the new. This is where the Nazi party held their rallies. Hitler, Goebbels, the whole crew, thousands of them from all over Germany. Does he have to blow that damn horn so much? Necessary to blow the horn so much, Schmidt?
You could just do a little tap and they will know.
Captain Byers, this is Judge Haywood. Byers here will be your aide.
Welcome.
You've already met your driver, Schmidt.
I'm at your service, sir, anytime you need me, day or night.
There are 2 bedrooms on this floor, 3 upstairs. Pictures, part antique, part U.S. Army.
I really don't need all this. The United States government does something, it does it right, you know. Well, Harry, look, I'm not West Point. And all this formality kind of gets me down a little. Not to say it puts me ill at ease. A fraction of the rules if you were to call me Judge or Dan or something.
Okay, Judge. Here's a copy of the indictment of the case. I thought you might want to look it over. Fine.
Do you think I really need the 3 servants? It kind of makes me feel like a damn fool. Well, it helps them out. I was the only man in America qualified for this job. Hitler is gone, Goebbels is gone, Goering is gone, committed suicide before they could hang him. Now we're down to the business of judging the doctors, businessmen. I just wanted you to know that I know where the body's buried. No, I think the trial should go on. Well, thanks, Senator. Thanks for everything. See you tomorrow, Judge.
Take these upstairs.
Oh, yes, yeah. Here, I can take that one.
No, let me take it. Please.
That's just coming in.
The tribunal is now in session. God bless the United States and this honorable tribunal.
The microphone will be placed in front of the defendant, Emil Hahn. Represented by counsel before this tribunal.
Emil Hahn, sind Sie von einem Anwalt vor diesem Gericht?
That's that time.
Not guilty.
Represented by counsel before this tribunal.
Die Frage ist, sind Sie von einem...
Presented.
How do you plead to the charges and specify guilty or not guilty?
Nicht schuldig in allen Punkten.
Not guilty on all counts.
You're not guilty.
Nicht schuldig.
Not guilty.
Aber ein Rechtsanwalt.
Yes, of course, I am represented.
Is guilty or not guilty? Nicht schuldig. You may be seated. Ernst Janik, represented by counsel before this
Not
tribunal.
standing up.
Represented by counsel before this tribunal.
Geklagten Hohes Gericht. I represent the defendant, Your Honor.
Charges and specifications set forth in the indictment against you. Guilty or not guilty?
Eine Erklärung abgeben. Your Honor, may I address the court? It does not recognize the authority of this tribunal and wishes to lodge a formal protest in lieu of pleading.
Plea of not guilty will be entered.
That the defendants are charged with crimes committed in the name of the law, the embodiment of what passed for justice during the Third Reich, as judges during the period of the Third Reich. Only a judge knows how much more a court is than a courtroom. And they distorted, they perverted, they destroyed justice and law in Germany.
The interpreter cannot follow you.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
They destroyed justice and law in Germany. Prosecution is calling them to account for murder, brutalities, torture, atrocities. Responsibility for the most malignant, the most calculated, the most devastating crimes in the history of all mankind. And they are perhaps more guilty than... Their minds weren't warped at an early age by Nazi teachings. Ideologies of the Third Reich as educated adults, when they, most of all, should have valued justice. The justice they denied others will be judged according to the evidence presented in this courtroom.
Herr Rolf will make the opening statement for the defense.
But also a great challenge for an advocate. The entire civilized world
wird diesem Prozess folgen.
will follow closely what we do here. The avowed purpose of this tribunal
Is broader than the visiting of retribution on a few men.
Speak English the
It's
whole time.
dedicated to finding a code of justice, honest, evaluation, of the responsibility for the crimes in the indictments. This responsibility will not be found only in documents that no one contests or denies. Decisions of a political or social nature will be found in the character of men, character of Ernst Janning. The degree of Doctor of Law in 1907, became a judge in East Prussia in 1940, of the Weimar Republic, and was one of the framers of its democratic constitution. National fame, not only for his work as a great jurist, textbooks which are still used in universities all over the world. A judge does not make the laws, he carries out the laws of his country. Should he have refused to carry them out and become a traitor? This is the crux of the issue at the bottom of this trial. It's not only Ernst Janning who is on trial here, it's the German people.
Tribunal will recess until further notification.
It was quite a damning speech by Colonel Lawson, wasn't it? If those men in the dock can really be responsible for the things he listed in the indictment. My son was in the 101st. He's buried in the American cemetery outside Liège.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm going to stay here for a moment. I'm waiting for some records from Byers.
Here are the reports you asked for, sir.
Oh, I think you could get me a copy of the books Ernst Janning wrote.
There are quite a few of them.
I'd like all of them.
Examine that person.
How long have you been here, Captain?
2 years. Parents were Nazis, but she was 8 years old when they came in.
I didn't ask you that.
I know, but maybe you were thinking it. It's natural to think about it. If anybody was going to indoctrinate her, it might as well be me. Try the old section. Everybody stops for a beer and a sausage there.
Thank you.
Auf Wiedersehen, Opa.
What did she say?
She said goodbye, Grandpa.
Deutschland! In uns marschiert Deutschland!
Remember him?
Contact with the American authorities. I can tell them if they're not treating you all right.
They are treating me all right.
No, you didn't want me as your counsel. I know you didn't want anyone. I intend to represent your case with complete dignity. There will be no sentiment, there will be no falling at the mercy of the court. Courage to sit in judgment on a man like you. The way I see it, the realization decrees and the Feldenstein-Hoffmann affair. I admired you since I was a boy in the university. I might be able to achieve some of the things you have done to look up to for all of us.
Is that all? That all?
Didn't acknowledge it. He wanted to listen to it.
We served in the Ministry of Justice together from 1929 till 1935.
Did you know him before that?
Yes. He was always a man of great intelligence.
The position of the judge in Germany prior to the advent of Adolf Hitler, to the coming to power of National Socialism in 1933.
Judges became subject to something outside of objective justice. Was necessary for the protection of a country. The right to appeal was eliminated. The concept of race was made a legal concept for the first time. To hand over the administration of justice into the hands of the dictatorship.
Judiciary protests these laws abridging their independence.
A few of them did.
The judiciary was aware of the consequences to come.
At first, perhaps not, came clear to anyone with eyes and ears.
The changes in criminal law.
It was characterized by an ever-increasing inflation of the death penalty. Defendants, just because they were Poles or Jews or politically undesirable. Sexual sterilization for those who were categorized as asocial.
Distinctive mark on their robes in 1935.
To wear the insignia of the swastika on their robes.
Did you wear such an insignia?
No.
Did Ernst Janning wear a swastika on his robe?
Yes.
That's all? Thank you.
Is that all?
What was necessary for the protection of the country. The conditions in Germany at the time National Socialism came to power. Would you say there was widespread hunger?
Yes.
Would you say there was internal disunity?
Yes.
National Socialism helped to cure some of these conditions?
Yes, but at a terrible price. And I...
Please confine yourself to... Therefore,
I mean,
was it not possible that a judge might
yeah,
wear...
but that question.
Dr. Wieck, view of the administration might be distorted.
No.
What was going on in the administration if you were not there?
I had many friends in the legal administration.
From journals And books? Sexual sterilization was not invented by National Socialism, but had been advanced for years before as a weapon in dealing with the mentally incompetent. It could not call upon those who already sapped the strength of the state for these lesser sacrifices in order to prevent our being swamped by incompetence. Few degenerate offsprings for crime, or to let them starve for their imbecility, society can prevent their propagation by medical means. Dr. Wieck.
No, sir, I don't.
Union upholds the sterilization law in the state of Virginia. That great American jurist, Supreme Court Justice Oliver Holmes. Sexual sterilization was a novel National Socialist measure.
Yes, I can say. Before used as a weapon against political opponents.
The case where someone was sterilized for political reasons.
Or that such things were done.
Answer the question.
Specific date.
I am asking you if you have any first-hand personal knowledge of such a case.
No such personal knowledge.
C'est classique pour analyser.
Of the charges in the indictment against Ernst Janning.
Yes, I...
Responsible for them.
Yes, I can.
To the civil servant loyalty oath of 1934.
Your Honor, I object. The witness doesn't have to answer that question.
The tribunal placed it on trial when he placed Ernst Janning on trial. If responsibility is to be found, the widest latitude is to be permitted.
Objection overruled.
Civil servant loyalty oath of 1934.
Everyone did.
We are not interested in what everyone did. We are interested in what you did.
Swear that I shall be obedient to the leader of the German Russian people, Adolf Hitler. That I shall be loyal to him.
Everyone swore to it. It was mandatory.
Could see that National Socialism was leading Germany to disaster. It was clear to anyone who had eyes and ears.
Really?
Hitler could never have come to absolute power. Dr. Wieck, why didn't you? Can you give us an explanation? Pension mean more to you than your country!
Your Honor.
The executing council was dedicated to finding a responsibility.
Your Honor, I made an responsibility for more here than swearing to a loyalty oath, and you know it. Victims the world has ever known. They'll walk into this courtroom and show you...
Order! We'll tolerate nothing of this kind again. The objection is overruled. The witness is excused. All the books by Yanni are interesting. They're more than that. They're a picture of an era. Its hopes, aspirations, Germany of justice, where men can live instead of die. A Germany of purpose, of freedom, of humanity. Words like these be part of sterilizations and murders. How could he be?
Dan, there are a lot of things that happen here that nobody understands.
My wife's planning a little get-together tomorrow night at the Grand Hotel. She wants you to come.
All right, thank you.
You might be lonely here.
Oh, no, thanks, Curtis. Thanks very much.
You know how these wives are. They love to play Cupid.
My wife and I have an engagement. Good night.
Mrs. Halberstadt, could I...
This is Madame Berthold. This is His Honor, Judge Haywood. It's her house. She came to get some of her belongings from the basement. I didn't know she was coming.
I hope you don't mind.
No, not at all.
You can examine what I have here if you like.
Please.
Thanks. Good night, citizen. It's full of books and pictures, things that mean nothing to anyone but me.
Mrs. Berthold, home, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
I hope you're comfortable. Plaza 115, please.
Yes, madam.
Sit down. How long did she live here?
Madame Berthold? Oh, Madame Berthold and her family have lived here for many generations, Your Honor.
I'm just going to make myself a sandwich.
Oh, we will make it for you. We will make you anything you want.
No. What was it like living under National Socialism day to day? You know, I know many people at home like you. You're good people. Believe living under Hitler.
We were not political. Mr. Halberstadt and I are not political.
You must have been aware of some of the events that were going on. There was parades. Hitler, Goebbels came here every year.
Never attended meetings. Never.
I'm not trying to put you on trial. It's called Dachau, which was not what was going on there.
We knew nothing about it. Nothing about it. We knew anything about that.
They are living.
I'm sorry.
We are only little people. We lost a son in the army and our daughter in the bombing. It was terrible for us.
I won't say he didn't do some good thing. More people work. We won't say he didn't do some good things. Since they say he did put the Jews and the rest, we knew nothing about that.
Did know. What could we do?
But Mrs. Halberstadt said you didn't know. What about her husband?
He was in the army.
One of the defendants in the Malmedy case.
He was executed, Your Honor.
Rudolph Lenz is requested to present himself within 2 weeks at one of the hospitals mentioned below. Line has decided the following. The seamstress Annie Munch, daughter of Wilhelm Munch, is to be sterilized. Take herself voluntarily. She will be taken by force. Herr Eichenschild.
Your Honor. The introduction of these repetitive documents are not even admissible unless supported by independent evidence of their authenticity.
Evidence on sterilization be admissible if there were a witness.
Is it
Yes.
bad?
Thank you. Prosecution calls the witness Rudolph Peterson.
I swear by God the Almighty and Omniscient that I will speak the pure truth and withhold and add nothing.
Yes, I do.
The court, your full name and place of residence.
Rudolph Peterson, of Frankfurt am Main.
What is your occupation?
Baker's helper. I'm a baker's helper.
What were the causes of their deaths? They die of natural causes?
Yeah, natural.
Political party did your father belong to?
Communist. The Communist Party.
Unusual that happened to you and your family in 1933, before the Nazis came to power.
Some SA men broke into the house, our house, broke the windows and the door, and they called us traitors, beat up my father.
And what happened then?
Well, my brothers and I, we went to help him outside in the street, and we beat them up and turned them over to the police of the national elections.
You mean the time the National Socialists came to power?
Yeah.
After the Nazis came to power?
I went to the city building to apply for a license.
And what happened there?
An official.
Official before?
He was one of the men who broke into our house that night.
What did he say to your application?
Nomination there would have to be.
Who was the presiding justice in the court?
Justice Hofstadter. My full name and so forth. When Adolf Hitler and Dr. Goebbels were born, didn't know, and also that I didn't care. I would be hearing from them in 10 days.
Is it the signature or something?
Could you please read it for the Tribune?
Edison born May 20th, to be sterilized.
Now, would you read the last paragraph?
He present himself within 2 weeks to one of the hospitals mentioned below. Himself voluntarily, he will be taken by force. Citing Justice Hofstadter.
Read what is written below.
By authority of Ernst Janning.
Your Honor, Mr. Peterson.
What did you do after you received the letter?
Farm of a friend I have.
And did you return? Did you return?
Yes.
I wonder if you could speak a little louder.
In any way, she was to prepare me for the operation. She thought the whole thing was terrible. It was awful.
Were you, in fact, sterilized? That's all.
Rolf, what did your father do?
He was a railroad worker.
Yes, but what did he do?
And lower the barrier at the crossing for traffic.
Oh, then you're a family of 10.
Yes. Laborers.
All laborers? I see.
What's it to do?
You said the court at Stuttgart asked you 2 questions. What else did they ask you? There were no questions about your schooling.
Objection. The witness has already answered that question.
Objection sustained.
How long did you attend school?
6 years. I had to go to work.
Will you consider yourself a very bright fellow at school?
It was,
You can speak English.
Perhaps you were not able to keep up with the others, and
This is
For
school record. It has
economics.
nothing to do with what happened to him.
it was the task of the health court to sterilize the mentally incompetent. Were you not able to keep up with the others, failed to be promoted, and was placed in a class of backward children? Detail the illness your mother died of. Mental peculiarities?
No.
That your mother suffered from hereditary feeble-mindedness.
That's not true. Not true. They said to put me on the operating table.
It was just something they said.
Yes!
You can answer it for us now. Out of the words, Herr, Hunter, Field.
Your Honor, objection.
The court in Stuttgart constituted like this one. Was there an audience?
An audience? Yes, yes.
Hunter Field, Mr. Peterson.
There. Hunter. I walked into the court. They had made up their minds. They had made up their minds. Like a criminal. I could not say anything. I could not do anything. My mother. What you say about her. She was a woman. She was a hard-working woman. And it is not fair. Not fair what you say. I have here her picture. I would like you looked at it. I would like you to judge. Tell me, was she feeble-minded? Was she feeble-minded? Was she?
That the witness is not in control of his mental processes.
I know I am not. I've been half I've ever been.
Only your word.
It's filled with young radicals like Lawson, a personal protege of FDR. I'm wondering how you stand.
Well, I'll clarify that for you, Curtis. I'm a rock-ribbed Republican.
The defense of her husband was quite eloquent.
Are you going to do a story on these trials?
I couldn't give a story away on the Nuremberg trials.
What do you mean, Mr. Perkins?
The American public just isn't interested anymore.
Sonnenberg or some Schwalbenwinkel. It's the local wine.
Sonnenberg or...
Schwalbenwinkel.
You speak English very well, Miss.
Husband and I spent 2 years in America. You had a chance to see something of Nuremberg. Many beautiful things to see in the old part of town. Museums we're trying to rebuild. And there's a concert. You see, I have a mission with the Americans. To convince you that we are not all monsters.
Mrs. Berthold?
Did you just come, Miss?
No, I must go. Please excuse me. It was awfully nice meeting you. If you really want to hear the concert,
I prosecuted her husband. I'm sure there are people who think all the prisoners in Nuremberg should be free today. All of them. I've had...
Schwalbenwinkel.
We beat the greatest war machine since Alexander the Great. The hare was shot by the hunter in the field. It's really quite simple. Do anything that's out of order. No, sir, we can't do anything that's out of order. There are no Nazis in Germany. Those invaded Germany and took over. That's how all those terrible things happened. The Germans, it was the fault of those damn Eskimos.
The following officers are requested to report to their units. Captain Connell, Captain Douglas, Captain Wolf, Major Booth.
Have made their move in Czechoslovakia. There's rumor Masaryk committed suicide. We're sending some units up there.
Guten Abend.
He is deeply concerned with the survival of the Western nations in face of the threat from the East. Herr Janning, did you hear what is in the paper? Exactly what Hitler said. The clash for survival between East and West. See, that we knew exactly what we were doing all the time. Call us criminals and at the same time ask us to help them. Now, the most crucial part of this case is coming up.
It would have made your day if I deigned to say good morning to you. You feel obliged to tell me what to do with my life.
Good for Germans to turn on one another. We have a common ground now.
Terrible things that have happened to me in my life. But the worst thing that has ever happened is to find myself in the company of men like you.
Part of that same regime. You stood by that regime the same as the rest of us. And there's something else you have in common. You are a German.
저는 젊은 11%.
Only live a few blocks from here. I was going to walk. Would you like to go for a walk?
Yes, I would.
The German people love to sing, no matter what the situation. Much sadder than the English words. The German soldier knows he's going to lose his girl. Burns every night, but I've been long forgotten. What is your position in America? It must be important.
No, it isn't, really. I'm a district court judge.
Judges in the United States?
Yes, in some states. One of the virtues or one of the defects of our judiciary system. I thought it was one of the virtues until last year when I was defeated.
Would you like to come up? I could make some coffee.
Yes, thank you.
You know what that means, don't you?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
It means a very special kind of discipline. For instance, when I was a child, we used to go for long rides into the country in summertime. Control your thirst, control emotion. They served me well. To fight in the battle and fight well. It's ersatz, but I always try to make it strong.
It's fine.
What do you think of Ernst Janning?
Really, I'm not at liberty to discuss the case outside of the courtroom.
Oh, yes, of course. There was a reception given for Wagner's daughter-in-law. Hitler was there. She was very beautiful. Very small, very delicate. She's dead now. Aunt sits towards her during the reception. He used to do things like that in a burst of emotion. Chancellor, I do not object so much that you are so ill-mannered. I do not object to that. Subject that you are such a bourgeois. Hitler whitened, stared at Janning, and walked out. He hated my husband because he was a real war hero. And the little corporal couldn't tolerate that. In awe of the nobility, but he hated it.
He's taking Yanning's side.
He was placed on trial with the other military leaders. He was part of the revenge. It was political murder.
I really shouldn't be here talking with you about this at all, but...
Would you like some more coffee?
Yes,
We found Irene Hoffman. Her name's Wallner now. That's why we had difficulty locating her.
When's she coming?
She doesn't want to come. You know what it's like. None of them want to testify anymore.
Get to Berlin, be back by tomorrow afternoon.
Tad, you haven't had any sleep, and
It'll be
tomorrow...
worth it if I can get Hoffman.
She does not have to go. You have no right to order her to go.
Mr. Wallner, I'm not ordering her to go.
Get a medal for appearing at these trials? The people do not like them. After the trials, you will go back to America, but we must stay here and live with these people.
Mr. Wallner, don't you think I realize what I'm asking?
The
Not
night-
be allowed to get away with what they did.
Is he going?
Emil Hahn will be there.
Yes,
Ernst Janning.
yes.
They will come if I go to Nuremberg.
There's a guard in front of the store, 24 hours a day.
You do not have to go, Irene. He has no right to
Irene,
ask you to go.
have to get up there on the stand themselves.
You do not owe it to anybody, Irene.
Yes,
you do
you
not
do.
owe it to anybody.
You owe it to one person at least.
We've known somehow it would come to this.
Is he going?
Dr. Goethe, do you recognize that headline?
Death to the race defiler.
In what newspaper did it appear? Stein case.
Your Honor, defense objects to introduction of the Feldenstein case. Appeals to emotion that would perhaps be best not raised.
Not be raised in this courtroom. The tribunal is interested in everything that is relevant. The objection is overruled.
What was the Feldenstein case? Man accused of racial pollution. Any non-Aryan having sexual relations with an Aryan may be punished by death. I was contacted by the police. They said that Mr. Feldenstein was being held and that he requested that one of the heads of the Jewish congregation in Nuremberg. What was the nature of the charge? Intimate relations with a 16-year-old girl, Irene Hoffman. He was indicted before the special court at Nuremberg. And where was this special court? It was right here, used as a showplace for National Socialism. British Streicher was sitting in one of the front seats. Officials of the Nazi Party were all over. Expectations for the trial in this climate. Hahn was the public prosecutor. He was a fanatic. He was marked by extreme brutality. His reputation was known throughout Germany. He was known to have... Irene Hoffman Wallner. Lehman Feldenstein?
Yes,
How old was he at this time?
he was in his 50s.
What was the nature of your relationship?
We were friends.
Came after your parents died?
Yes,
Why?
we were friends. He
Questioned you about having intimate relations with him. You tell me who the public prosecutor was?
Hahn
Did Emil Hahn question you?
took me into a separate room where we were alone. That it was no use to repeat my story, because no one would believe me. Killed the violator. That if I protected Mr. Feldenstein, that I would be held under arrest. I could not lie about someone who had been so kind to me.
Were you held under arrest?
Yes,
In which Emil Hahn conducted the prosecution.
a mockery of everything Mr. Feldenstein tried to say in his own defense, up to ridicule whenever possible.
Reaction.
They laughed
Yes, yeah.
again and again.
What was the verdict?
Guilty.
And what was the sentence?
Mr. Feldenstein was sentenced to be executed.
Was the presiding judge.
Ernst Janning.
Were the sentences carried out?
Evidence on the Feldenstein matter when it comes time for the defense to present its case.
In evidence, a decree signed by Adolf Hitler, directing that all persons accused or suspected to friends or relatives without any trial whatsoever and put into concentration camps issued under that decree. Each one signed by one of the defendants and placed in concentration camps. Signed by Friedrich Hofstetter, Emil Hahn, Ernst Janning. They did not personally administer the concentration camps or pull the lever that released gas into the chambers. Defendants fashioned and executed laws and rendered judgment which sent millions of victims to their destinations.
That Colonel Lawson be sworn in as a witness.
Granted.
In command of troops liberating concentration camps.
I was.
You present when the films we are about to see were taken?
Yes, I was.
Depends.
Okay.
Number of and location of concentration camps under the Third Reich. Concentration camp was founded in 1933, about 80,000. Break the body, break the spirit. The ovens, brushes of every description. Shoes, gold from teeth, melted down, sent once human pelvis, used as an ashtray. And this is what was filmed
the
when
things.
British troops liberated Belsen concentration camp. But the real figure, no one knows.
Dare they show us those films? How dare they?
Nothing like that.
This one's
Nothing at all.
important.
You ran those concentration camps. You and Eichmann say we killed millions of people. How could it be possible?
It's possible. Say you have 2 chambers that accommodate 2,000 people apiece. Figure it out. It's possible to get rid of 10,000 in a half hour. You can tell them they're going to take a shower, and then instead of the water, you turn on the gas. It's disposing of the bodies. That's the problem.
What is the matter?
Nothing. I'm just not hungry, that's all. Well, I don't think you realized what a provincial man I really am. I was a doughboy in World War I. I used to pass places like this and wonder what they were like.
They gave me back the feeling I had of the Americans. The feeling I used to have when I was in your country.
Too bad this isn't a magazine story.
He told me that showed those pictures in the courtroom. Colonel Lawson drags them out at any pretext, doesn't he? Colonel Lawson's private chamber of horrors. We knew of those things. Do you think we wanted to murder women and children?
What they did.
As far as I can make out, no one in this country knew. Ben was one of the heads of the army.
And he did not know. I tell you, he did not know. He knew what happened. We did not know. Little to a soldier's death. He asked for that. I tried to get that for him. He was hanged with the others. And after that, I knew what it was to hate. Hated with every fiber of my being. I hated every American I've ever known. Forget. We are to go on living.
Yesterday, the tribunal witnessed some films. Shocking films. Devastating films. I feel ashamed that such things could have taken place in my country. And terribly unfair of the prosecution of such films in this case, in this court, against these defendants. And I cannot protest too strongly. Such tactics prove that the German people as all were responsible for these events. The geographical location of the camps, the breakdown of communications in the last days of the war, made too clearly that he is not telling the truth. The truth is, brutalities were brought about by the few extremists. Very few Germans knew what was going on. Very few of us knew what was happening. The place is shown on these films. None of us! Prosecution showed these films against these defendants. Power for one reason only, to prevent worse things from happening.
Why did they sign on that?
The man who escapes or resigns in times of peril, present witnesses and letters and documents. Ernst Janning was able to effect mitigation of sentences, when without his influence, the results would have been much worse. Ernst Janning's personal physician was a non-Aryan. A Jewish man, attendance much to his own peril, endeavored to preserve justice and the concept of justice. The prosecution, in fact, presented in the case of Ernst Janning only one tangible piece of evidence, which the defense is obliged to review now. The defense calls Mrs. Elsa Lindner.
I'm a cleaning woman.
Where are you employed?
Employer in 1935.
Do you know the witness, Miss Irene Hoffmann-Wallner?
She was a tenant in the building.
Did you ever see Miss Hoffmann and Mr. Feldenstein together?
I came to see Miss Hoffmann at her apartment. Hoffmann kissing Mr. Feldenstein at the door of her apartment. To Miss Hoffmann's apartment, I wanted to clean up. I thought it was empty, sitting on Mr. Feldenstein's lap.
Thank you, Mrs. Lindau, that's all.
Her political affiliations?
Political?
Objection, Your Honor. It has nothing to do with the testimony. Colonel Lawson is once more trying to appeal to the emotion of the court.
Objection overruled.
Now, would you answer the question, please?
We are forced to be.
We were forced to be. Now, when did you become a member of the Nazi Party? German nationals forced to become members of the Nazi Party in 1933. You forced to become a member of the Nazi Party.
Witness is excused.
Irene Hoffmann-Wallner to the stand. Court voluntarily to speak as a witness?
Yes.
Prosecution asked you to come here? That it was very disagreeable for you to come here?
Very disagreeable to live over those times.
I have that you did not want to come. Thank you. Were you aware that a physical relationship with Jews was against the law? A physical relationship with Jews was viewed with disdain, but every social contact?
Yes.
Danger for you personally?
Yes, I was in ship from day to day because of some...
That is another question. Miss Wallner, you still continue to see each other?
Yes.
Remember that sometimes he bought you flowers?
Yes, he bought me many things. He was the kindest man I ever knew.
Did Feldenstein come to see you at your apartment?
Yes.
How many times?
Yes, I kissed him.
Was there more than one kiss?
But it was not in the way you are trying to make it sound. Like a father to me. He was more than a father.
More than a father? Is that?
Objection! Counsel is what was a travesty of justice in the first place?
Tribunal makes the rulings in this case, not the prosecution. You may proceed.
There wasn't nothing wrong or ugly about it.
Did you sit on his lap?
Yes.
Sit on his lap. What else did you do, Mrs. Wallner?
What are you trying to do? Why do you not let me speak the truth?
You admitted you sat on his lap? What else do you admit to? What else?
Nothing. Stop it! Stop it!
What else do you admit to, Mrs. Wallner? What else?
Hello! Are we going to do this again?
The defendant has been under so great that he is not aware.
I am aware.
The defendant wishes to make a statement.
John, I believe the defense has a right to request...
Order.
Yeah, what is going on?
To make a statement.
The defense has a right...
Your Honor, the defendant has the right to make his statement now.
I have to speak with my client.
He has the right to make it now.
It's adjourned until 10:30 tomorrow morning.
Enjoyed being defense counsel to in a shred of dignity. I want to call a halt to these proceedings. If we allow them to discredit every German like you, who's the right to rule ourselves forever? Thousands and thousands of burned bodies. Women and children. Do you think they take us? Do you think they know? Do you think they have any concept of our problems? Can I say to you to make you see?
Nothing.
There is nothing.
When all rail travel between western zones and Berlin was stopped.
Be realistic to accelerate them as much as possible.
What would happen if they fired on one of our...
When it happens, there's no other answer to that question.
It's going to be a fight for survival. For the next 10 years, Germany is the key to that survival. Any high school student in geography can tell you that. He is trying to influence your decision. It's important that you realize this because it's a fact of life. All the help we can get. We're going to need the support of the German people.
About the Feldenstein case. One must understand the period in which it had disgrace, of indignity, of hunger. It was torn by elements within. Fear of today, fear of tomorrow, fear of our neighbors. You understand what Hitler meant to us. Liberals, Jews, gypsies. Once these devils will be destroyed, your misery will be destroyed. Old story of the sacrificial lamb. And worse than lies, why did we sit silent? Why did we take part? Because we loved our country. Hitler himself will be discarded, sooner or later. The country is in danger. We will march out of the shadows. We will go forward. We succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. The very elements of hate and power about it. We found ourselves with sudden powerful allies. Things that had been denied to us as a democracy. Take it! Take Sudetenland! Take the Rhineland, remilitarize it. Take all of Austria, take it! And that we were in an even more terrible danger. The ritual began in this courtroom, swept over the land like a raging, roaring disease. To sit silent during this trial, to tend my roses, to let counsel try to save my name. In order to save it, you would have to raise the specter again. That the Third Reich worked for the benefit of people. He has suggested that we sterilized men for the welfare. Old Jew did sleep with the 16-year-old girl after all. Love of country. We who know our guilt must admit it, whatever the pain and humiliation. It was not a trial at all. It was a sacrificial. The Jew was the helpless victim.
Your Honor, I must interrupt. Not aware of the implications.
I am aware. I am aware. If you believe, we were not aware of the concentration camp. Where were we when Hitler began shrieking his hate and Reich? When every village in Germany has a railroad terminal, where cattle cars were filled with children. Extermination died out in the night to us. Were we deaf, dumb, blind? Extermination of the millions. He would give you the excuse. Extermination of the hundreds. Was any the less guilty? It was because we didn't want to know. Traitor! Traitor! Order!
Put that man back in his seat and keep him there.
The whole world conspires against it. An old man who cries into his Bible now. Property expropriation of every man he sent to a concentration camp to take orders. Who sent men before him to be sterilized like so many digits. Paid, corrupt, bigot. Obsessed by the evil within himself. Ernst Janning, who made his life excrement as he walked with them.
He feels his guilt, hoping it would be good for his country. Also went along, who also must be found guilty. But the rest of the world, did it not know the intentions of the Third Reich? Hear the words of Hitler's broadcast all over the world? His intentions in Mein Kampf. Published in every corner of the world. Of the Soviet Union. In 1939, the pact with Hitler ordered him to make war. Who signed in 1933 the Concordat with Hitler, giving him his first tremendous prestige. The Vatican guilty? The world leader Winston Churchill, who said in an open letter to the London Times in 1938, 38! Your Honor, pray to God to send a man of the strength of mind and will of an Adolf Hitler. American industrialists who helped Hitler to rebuild his armaments and profited by that rebuilding. Is guilty? No, Your Honor. No. The whole world is as responsible for Hitler's Germany. It is an easy thing to condemn one man in the dark. Comfortably. Ignore the basic flaw of character that made the Russians sign pacts with him. Winston Churchill praise him. American industrialists profit by him. Janning's guilt is the world's guilt.
What are you going to do in court tomorrow? I'd like to recommend they put him behind bars and throw away the key. You know what's going on here now. You know what we're up against. The others may not, but you do. Now, I'll tell you the truth. I don't know what's going to happen if they fire on one of those planes. Berlin goes, Germany goes. If Germany goes, Europe goes.
You, not the Pentagon, not God on his throne is going to make me do
Who do you think you're talking to? The hell do you think you're talking to? When you were marching into Dachau with those troops, I was there too. You think I'll ever forget it? You don't get the help of the German people by sentencing their leaders to stiff prison sentences. Survive as best we can, but survive.
Just for laughs, Smith. What was the war all about? Was it about? Documentary evidence against these defendants and the echoes of persecution and atrocities will not be still. These events cannot help but color what happens in this courtroom. The responsibility for the crimes that we've brought forward during this trial, true perspective. And this is the decision that faces your honors.
Defendant Emil Hahn may address the tribunal.
Do not evade the responsibility for my actions. By them before the entire world. I will not say of our policy today that it was wrong when yesterday I say it was right. Measures were needed to protect it from its enemies. I cannot say that I am sorry we applied those measures. But a pillar of Western culture, work and a pillar the West may yet wish to retain.
Friedrich Hofstadter may address the tribunal.
I was assigned to in faithfulness, with a pure heart and without malice. Sacrifice one's own sense of justice to the authoritative legal order, to ask whether or not it is also justice. And millions of Germans like me who believed they were doing their duty to their country, to be not guilty.
The defendant, Werner Lampe, may address. Your Honors. The defendant, Ernst Janning.
I have nothing to add to what I have said.
The tribunal will recess until further notification. Some of these pictures attached to the warrants for arrest. And here's Irene Hoffman. She really was 16. It was a situation of a boy. Certainly could have been more than 14 for saying things against the Third Reich by order of Justice Friedrich Hofstadter.
Prosecutor before the International Military Tribunal. It is obvious that in the state organ war criminal. Now, on the basis of these, I don't see where the prosecution has put forth the...
You were speaking of crimes against humanity and saying that the defendants were not responsible for their acts of legalistic double talk and rationalization. I knew there were certain people in town I wasn't supposed to touch. I knew that if I was to remain a judge, God's name, do you expect me to look the other way at the murder of 6 million people?
What is it going to do to pursue this policy?
You were saying that the men are not responsible for their acts. You're going to have to explain that to me.
God bless the United States of America.
The record of evidence is more than 10,000 pages long, and final arguments of counsel have been concluded. Murders and atrocities do not constitute the gravamen of the charges in this indictment. Conscious participation, cruelty and injustice, in violation of every moral and legal principle known to all civilized nations. Abundant evidence to support, beyond a reasonable doubt, the charges against these defendants. Bear the ultimate responsibility for what happened here in Germany. The complaining party at the bar in this courtroom is civilization, who sat in black robes, men who took part in the enactment of laws and decrees, extermination of human beings, men who in executive positions actively participated, illegal even under German law. Principle. Every civilized society has this in common. Who sways another to commit murder, weapon for the purpose of the crime. Any person who is an accessory to the crime. Erolf, what he thought was the best interest of his country. There is truth in this also. He loathed the evil he did. But compassion for the present torture of his soul and the death of millions by the government of which he was a part. Been degraded perverts. If all of the leaders of the Third Reich had been sadistic monsters and maniacs, even able and extraordinary men, heinous that they beggar the imagination. No one who has sat through the trial can ever forget them. Sterilized because of political belief, friendship, and faith. The murder of children. It seems that the only way to survive is to use the means of the enemy, to rest survival upon what is expedient, to look the other way. It's what it stands for when standing for something is the most difficult. Here in our decision, this is what we stand for, and the value of a single human being. Emil Hahn, the tribunal finds you guilty.
Today you sentence me, tomorrow the Bolsheviks sentence you.
Marshal will produce the defendant Hofstadter before the tribunal. Hofstadter, the tribunal finds you guilty and sentences you to life imprisonment. Defendant Lampe.
Guilty.
Werner Lampe will find you guilty and sentences you to life in prison. Marshal will produce the defendant Ernst Janning before the tribunal.
Guilty.
Finds you guilty and sentences you to life imprisonment. He just doesn't understand.
He understands.
Justice Ives dissenting. Yeah. Thank you for it.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the car for you.
I came here at the request of my client, Ernst Janning. He wishes to see you.
I'm just leaving for the airport.
It would mean a great deal to him. What about the verdict in the IG Farben case? Those received light sentences. The verdict came in today.
No, I hadn't heard. Make wagers.
A gentleman's wager. 5 years. The men you sentenced to life imprisonment will be free.
I have admired your work in the courtroom, particularly brilliant in your use of logic. It's logical in view of the times in which we live. Logical is not to be right. And nothing on God's earth could ever make it right. Herr Janning,
Judge Haywood, I want to give you a record. A record of my cases to someone I can trust. Someone I felt I got to know during the trial. All the pressures that have been brought upon you will be criticized greatly. Your decision will not be a popular one. You have the respect of at least one of the men you convicted. Your verdict was a just one.
What you said in the courtroom, it needed to be said.
Judge Haywood, I asked you to come. It was millions of people. I never knew it would come to that.
Came to that the first time you sentenced a man to death you knew to be innocent.
Speak big like this, actually take a bit on the lot of pictures and should be horrible, but nightmare. And the